morning, everyone, and welcome. It's really a very big blessing that each and every one of you could be here, including Steve. If you didn't meet Steve, he's the one with the 4 legs. As we're here we're marking the passing and celebrating the life of a very unique and wonderful person, Ken Richard Pinkham, who I know everybody here knew and loved. Ken is survived by his beloved wife, Myra, daughter, Julia, brothers, Chuck and Andrew, sister, Suzanne, other friends and loved ones. My name is Zoe B. Zach, and I'm the rabbi here at Temple Israel of Catskill, right down the road. And you might think it's odd that a rabbi is officiating for a gentleman who was raised Catholic, although this is not an unusual occurrence for me, but I'm especially honored because of that. And I got to know Ken as each of Myra's parents passed, and, you know, seeing how Myra and Ken dealt with each other and dealt with the passing of her beloved parents. And we developed a relationship and a bond through that process. So I want to thank Myra for entrusting me in this role today. I really am honored. My heart goes out to you, Myra, and to you, Julia, and to all of Ken's family and loved ones. And I admire you that you want to have a celebration of life. And everything that's been arranged here certainly celebrates Ken in the various aspects, some of the aspects of his life. It's very, very beautiful. So I'm going to begin with a song that I understand was important to Ken, and I'm going to invite you to join along. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace, I swear it's not too late. So as those of you that are here are the loved ones and the ones closest, that were closest to Ken, I want to invite anyone who might like to come up and share a memory, anything you would like to about Ken, or Ken and Myra, or Ken and Myra and Julia, anything you'd like, I'd love to invite you to come on up. I'm going to put this right over here. For anyone that would like to, you can just come.
I'm not a good public speaker, so please. And it's just a hard time for me. But I just want everyone to know just how special Ken was. He could just walk into a room and a room would light up. He'd connect with everybody in the room. He would help anybody. He felt that he just took everybody's lives. He was just such a beautiful, beautiful person. Explain a little bit. The guitar here, not only did he play one mean guitar, although he wouldn't play in front of people, that's actually how Ken and I met. I rented a room in a house on Long Island. Somebody he worked with rented a room in the same house. He went and goes, "Anybody have a guitar?" And I gave it to him, and that was the start of our connection. And because of that connection, and the things that he did for me, I was very, very poor back then, and he brought me a meal that I thought that he didn't know what a portion was, but he did it so that I would have plenty of leftovers. That's the kind of person he was, and he didn't hardly know me then. And now, 38, 39 years of being together with him, it's just such a special, a little crazy at times, a very special, special guy. I also, his sister, Susie, wasn't able to make it today, but she sent me an email, and I just want to, with some of the stories that said, and if I could read this to you, I appreciate it. Some of the most memorable times growing up with Ken was when we were little, about 6 years old, and Ken, Chuck, and other friends would play Army and would ask if I could play. But they said you had to be a nurse, and that they'd bring back injured soldiers, but they never did. I remember when we were little, Ken and Chuck shared a room next to mine. They were cutting up, jumping up and down on the beds and laughing. My dad was working overtime. My mom said calmly, "Calm down and go to sleep." Now we got more rambunctious. All of a sudden, Mom ran up the stairs, flipped our beds against the wall, and now we had to sleep on the floor. Ken would tell that story about the beds being flipped very, very often. I remember when Ken had a paper route, and a classmate of mine would run up to his bike and pull out a full hand of papers out of the basket, and he would throw them up in the air. One day, Ken couldn't take anymore. He chased him, grabbed him with his right hand and punched him, and broke 3 fingers. I knocked on someone's door to use the phone to call Ken, and when he came, we walked back I'm sorry, I missed this part. I remember when Ken gave me his Ford, and that he converted the shifter from column to a Ford. He was one hell of a handy mechanic. He would he worked on some of my cars too. Until they got to the point where you have to have it all through the computer. He did some massive work like that. One day I was driving home and the ship stick dropped down through the floor. I knocked on someone's door to call Ken, and when he came to where I was and walked back to the car, picked up the pieces, he was really mad, but got onto the car and fixed it. Then he told me it was bound to happen. So this is just a picture from his sister. And I really want to hear from you some of the cool things that how he touched your lives. I know he touched my life in more ways than I could even talk about.
As I let Myra know in a email, Ken has been one of the most influential people in my life, and I really wish I could have said goodbye. But when I saw that he passed, I started thinking about everything that would be different in my life. You know, there are so many things I wouldn't have learned or done. And remember being working for ERS with him, and he was so excited. I believe that's the same survey equipment that he got back in 2006 or 7. And he's like, Keith, do you know how to run one of these? I'm like, no, but he's like, well, you can learn, right? So we went out into the woods, and we were surveying a property out in Warwick, and it was just something that showed me where his heart was, because he liked to operate it, and usually I would run the rod. And we were out in the middle of the woods, and there was a lot of trees, and there would be a lot of limbs falling. They were called widowmakers, and he could see that I was afraid. So he set up the tripod in a nice safe area, and he took the rod, and he walked around and got the shots. And I just, you could see through his heart then that he cared. He was willing to risk himself to help others. And then later on, he helped me start my own company. And I worked for him for about 8 years. And I still expect, like every Sunday, that he'll be calling and saying, hello, Keith. I mean, he had a certain tone to his voice. And I still, every once in a while, I'm still expecting that on a Sunday night, but he would always pay you more he would always do more for you than you could ever do for him, and he was just, he was a great guy. I wish I could have spent a few more years with him, working with him. I don't know.
Obviously, this needs to Hi, I'm Andrew, or Andy. I'm Ken's brother. He was 8 years older than me, so he was kind of like a second dad. I'm actually dressed in honor of him, Levi's, formal sneakers, and a nice comfortable shirt. You may question, there are medals up here on the table, because basically I grew up and basically everywhere Ken went, I went. We did a lot of hiking, camping, fishing together. I joined the Army, and basically the reality of the situation, and anyone who's, you know, actually been there and done that, you realize that you don't get medals on your own. You get medals because of the people that are in your life. So I wanted to give them to Myra and Julia. These are ones that I actually wore. And remembrance of Ken, because in my mind at least, he earned them just as much as I did. Supposed to tell a funny story, huh? Usually it revolves around cars with Ken for some reason. Joe Giordano, really good friend of ours, posted the one about the Phantom Falcon. The car kind of took off by itself and ran down the street and ran into a telephone pole. After that, Ken and I went to the beach, and you know, it was uncool to wear like swim trunks, so we always wore Levi's cutoffs to go swimming. And we got back up, you know, we drive off and everything, and he realized he had the keys in his pocket, and they were somewhere now in the Atlantic Ocean. So, broke the window, and, you know, this was an old car, so we were able to hotwire it. When he got it back, I was amazed. He wired it with a toggle switch start, you know, and the car was a workhorse, but it was ugly. It was half green and half primer gray, with a dent in the front from running into a telephone pole by itself. This is the same car that he gave to my sister Sue. But we had just always thought it was funny because we had plastic taped over the driver's side window, and we could drive it anywhere, you know, and no one would steal it. Didn't have to worry about anyone stealing it. But yeah, we just had, we had such, I mean, he was such an amazing impact on my life. You know, the positive side, I got to talk to him a lot before he passed away. In fact, I think it was the day before, or 2 days before he passed away, I got to talk to him. Yeah, we talked a lot, reminisced a lot, you know. He was truly an amazing human being, you know. Oh, the other memory I had when I was little, talking about Susie about the paper route. When I was old enough, he got a big piece of foam rubber and taped it around the crossbar on the bicycle. So when he was doing his paper route, I would sit on the crossbar and he would ride and I'd throw the newspapers. And that was just so much fun. But I am going to miss my brother deeply. It hurt deeply, but you know, and I just always remember words that come back to my mind. And in fact, Rabbi with the singing in the song there is that pain is a touchstone of wisdom. So I'm just hoping I can get some. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. Was my taller or shorter? Yeah, it wasn't short. I'm in the middle.
Just right.
Yeah, just right. Perfect. Tell my wife that. That never works for me. My name is Danny, and I live next door to Canamira, and I'm only there a year. You know, just recently passed a year. So I don't have a lot of memories. I don't have a lot of stories. But what I do have is something that's going to be like, you're going to think about it, it's not going to shock you, it's not going to wow you, it's not going to be anything new. You're all going to just shake your head and go, yeah, that sounds about right. So last year, we moved in, and we really couldn't move in. The house was in shambles. So we started working on the house, and it wasn't livable. And we're actually doing this in the middle of a pandemic. Major. We're all living through this, right? Pandemic. Where the biggest thing that we know, stay away from people. Don't go near people. Social distancing. Don't talk to anybody. Mask, this, that. And I'm coming from Long Island, come up to the house and work. What does my neighbor do? Comes right up to me. Hey, my name is Ken. How you doing? What's your name? I said, Danny. What's up, Ken? How are you? Nice to meet you. Introduces himself. You need anything? You want anything? You need any help? I'm here for you. When people are running away from everybody else around us, in the middle of a pandemic, what does Ken do? Walks right up to me, introduces himself, offers a helping hand. Basically Ken. And the entire year coming up, I look forward to those weekends. Just to say hello, conversation. You know, pretty much we had everything under control, work-wise, construction-wise, but he was a great conversationalist. Just wanted to talk, just have a conversation, say hello, how's your day, how's your week? He would talk about his week, you know, him out surveying and doing some jobs, and, you know, some of the good things, some of the bad things, and, you know, just talk, you know, great conversationalist. And then basically Ken. So he's one of a kind, definitely genuine, open, good-hearted, good guy. Thanks.
Oh, great, come on up. I think so. I think so.
So, Ken, there I was in Palinville, and I moved there just a little bit before y'all did, and I was walking around the streets of Palinville. I thought it was such a busy place, just so great in summer, and then winter came. And I was looking around going, where's everybody? You know? And same resident, oh no, what happened here? And he goes, I don't know, it's such a cool place. And went around the neighborhood and I counted about a third of the houses in the neighborhood were inhabited, roughly, maybe a third. And some of them were just kind of like, you know, weekend people, and some of them were just like grandma's house from years ago, nobody's in there at all. And I'm going, uh-oh, what did we just do? And a couple years of this, the economy gets worse, things get darker, it gets emptier. I'm going, oh God. The woman next door that I really dug, she went down to live with her family in Georgia for a while. I'm like going, oh my God. And there's this house on the corner, this blue house, and there's these people living in it, and they're like, we're leaving for Florida. And I'm like, oh. So they leave to Florida, and there's this house empty, and I'm going, oh, something's got to happen here. And all of a sudden, I'm walking my dog down the street. There's Ken. He goes, hi, we're here. We're here to take care of our family. That's why they bought the house. So we want to be able to have this house, take care of our family. That's why we came here. And I was like, cool. I mean, just that direct, like, boom, you know, awesome, welcome, come in. Very cool. And I was like, okay, we got neighbors, it's cool. Walking my dog the other day, I go by, seat cans out there. He's putting something in the truck or the car or whatever he had at the moment. It was different, I think it was different truck, different pickup. And he goes, yeah, so I'm going out to look at some snakes. And I'm like, really? Cool. Snakes. He goes, rattlesnakes. I'm like, oh, cool. What kind of rattlesnakes? Where are you going? What are you doing? Turns out we had this in common. You know, we were both huge fans of the natural world, and I worked in the industry for a long time. And he's going, you know about snakes? I'm like, yeah. And we're talking about all the natural things there. I'm going, if you've ever gone to the end of the mountain and you walk along the edge there, and that thing that used to be a road, and there's all these spring ephemerals, and he's like, spring ephemerals, cool, you know. So we're having all these conversations about nature and beauty and ecology and family, and I'm like, oh, home run, you know. And then I meet Myra, and Myra goes, she goes, I'm a writer. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, are there any more where you all come from? Because we got a lot of houses here, you know. And so I'd walk out, it was kind of like a regular event to walk out and see Ken and go, okay, what'd you see today? What'd you do? I was trying to say, oh, this is like this thing with a power line that we're trying to turn, you know, I'm going, ooh, so. And it was amazing. I was just talking with people that I don't really know, but I realized, I was like, oh, so where do you work? I'm like, oh, wait, Ken told me where to work. I know about your family. I know about your friends. I know, because Ken and I have been talking about this for years. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right, you're this one. Quick, you know. And so it's been amazing. And there were times when I was trying to figure stuff out for, you know, work or whatever, and I go, Ken, all right, so I got this idea. And Ken would be like, we talk about it, and he would know all the like engineering and the science and stuff. He goes, so what if you did this and you do that, and then what happened here? And I'd be like, oh, because his mind was super agile, and he needed to do stuff with that mind. And so we get to talking, and after a while it get dark, and we still be standing out on the street talking. And it's like, wait, I think dinner got cold while we were here. You know? And he loved you, Julia, and he was like, oh yeah. So he talked about his family, and he like gets so excited about it. And talked about when you were little and you all used to go hiking up in North South Lake, and it was a big deal. It's like, yeah, you know, so you go down this trail and you go up here, and then you can see all over the 5 counties or 5 states or whatever it is up there. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go there. You know? So it was beautiful, and always there to help, and always there in a very loving, loving way. And I'm just so grateful that I've gotten to know him all the years, and I really miss him. And I just want to send love to you both about that. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I don't really have a lot because I was trying to come up with stories that with my dad, but there wasn't anything that was really coming to me too much. But the one thing that me and my dad connected with the most as when, because my dad would work all the time, almost. But the moments that I would really think where I'd actually connect with my dad was when we were hiking, and there was this moment I remember when we were hiking, I forget what area it was near Kingston, but my dad, we were just hiking and like stuff, and then all of a sudden I saw this rattlesnake. All of a sudden this rattlesnake there, it's like, and my dad, I was like, Dad, there's a huge snake over there. He's like, because he probably thought it was like a garter snake or something major. And he's like, look at that. And he's like, always he pushes me away. It's like, don't get away from there. But yeah, those are like the moments I remember with my dad, was like when we would be hiking all over the place, like especially like I said, like by North Lake and stuff. And that's like the moments that I remember actually connecting with Dad, because, you know, and we'd watch football together, and pro football and stuff, we would do things, but those are like probably the moments that I could most think of with Dad and stuff. all I have. I just wanted to say something, you know, because, anyway, thank you. Okay. Sorry, I was rude.
Hi, I'm Karen. I work with Ken almost every day. I work for ERS Consultants, and Ken was my buddy. Ken would call me every morning when I got into work, 9 o'clock, phone during, and, "Hello, Karen!" And I'd say, "Hi, Ken, how are you?" And he'd tell me about his weekends, but always made me smile, always made me laugh, and was always a good piece of advice to run things by on, and trying to think funny stories that Ken had told me about, of happenings, and one that comes to mind, and David can remember this, we had these farmers and they were subdividing their farm, and Ken went out there, and the terrain was rough, so the two brothers that had these big quads are like, "Come on, we'll take you to the top of the site," and so David hopped on one and held onto the brother, and Ken got on the other, and they went flying up the hill, and because it was acres and acres of land. So when they got up there, David gets off the quad, the other brother's there, and then the other one comes up, and they're like, "Where's Ken?" Ken didn't want to hold on. So when the guy took off, Ken went flying off the back, and they had no idea that Ken was missing. So then they went down, and Ken was walking up the hill. So that was a really funny story that I wanted to share. But Ken was amazing at anything and everything he did. His maps were way beyond anybody else's. Even David points out all the time how nobody can do maps like Ken. The layers, the in-depth, and he's going to be greatly missed, especially by us. And, his generosity was tenfold. This mask came from Ken, because he said, "I'm mailing up some masks because there's a shortage," and when the pandemic happened, and sent me this one, and the blue one, and one like Myra has on, and he was just so sweet how he worried about everybody, and I'm glad I had the pleasure to know him. Thank you.
So as I said earlier, I met Ken when each of Myra's parents were end of life and then passed. So I spent more time talking with Myra than with Ken. And I knew Myra was a writer, but I never got around to knowing what Ken did. What I knew about Ken was he was so devoted to his mother and father-in-law. And he was so devoted to his mother, to his wife and daughter. All he cared about was their well-being, how they were getting through it, how they handled it. He just wanted to be, he was very selfless. That's how I saw him. So as I say, I never really knew what he did, and it just didn't, in the way I interact with people, it doesn't always come up. What do you do? There isn't time for that conversation. So I started to see posts from Ken on Facebook. I guess he must have friended me, and I saw all these snake and animal photographs. So I thought he was just assuming, because you know how one just assumes, I thought he was an animal rehabber or rescuer, or because he just loved these animals. And he was always showing like how he saved them or found them or protected them and moved them so they'd be safe. And it was only later that I found out the work that he did, that the animals and his care for them was, it was just who he was. It wasn't his job, but he obviously took nature and our planet and everything in it very seriously and with a tremendous amount of respect. So I wasn't surprised when, Myra, when we were speaking last week, and you were telling me about Ken's views of what happens when somebody passes. Because after all, I'm a rabbi, I'm used to talking about the Jewish perspective. I'm familiar with many perspectives of different traditions. So Myra was telling me that Ken believed when somebody passes, that they become a part of everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, the sky, the air, the mountains, the water, the grasses, the plants, and they just become a part of what is. So I started to think about like his way of life and his way of caring for other people and wanting to help and make things better. And his belief that, you know, his physical body is gone. We know this harsh reality about death. Can't get away from this. We know this. But if his view is that he's everywhere, he's in this very air that we're breathing, that he's a part of it, then we all still get to be a part of Ken and his ongoing life. His, maybe you could say his soul's ongoing journey. And I want to say something, I think Keith is the one that said about not getting to say goodbye, because it's a really, it's very harsh and very hard when you don't get to say goodbye to a loved one. Thank God, Myra, you and Julia got to have that. Thank God. If you think about that Ken believed that he's a part of everything, then you might say you could keep having conversations with him, that you could keep talking to him, that if there's something unresolved or something you want to talk over with him because that was your way of, that was your relationship with him, then I want to invite you to keep doing that. I will say that I'm not just speaking like head in the clouds kind of thing. That's my relationship to my loved ones who have passed. There's still very active parts of relationships in my life. And if you used to ask advice of Ken, I'd say keep asking him. If you used to talk things over with him to help figure out your situation, keep talking to him. And the only thing you know, of course, none of us really knows what happens when someone passes. But what I imagine is that Ken, who while he was alive, wanted to help everybody and make, as was said, gave more than you could give to him. That's just what he wants to keep doing. He wants to watch over Myra and Julia and his brothers and his sister and his loved ones, his neighbors. He wants to see how your house is going and how the job. I'm sure he's very interested in how things are at work and the snakes. I'm sure he's looking at. So I just invite everybody to think about that the relationship isn't over. It's changed. Because the only thing I know absolutely for sure is that you cannot take love away. You know, you can't, the death doesn't take love away. Death takes a lot away, but it doesn't take love. It doesn't take care. It doesn't take that amazing, unseeable connection we have with a loved one. So my prayer for all of you as my heart and my condolences go out is that you forever feel that and that you build on it and it grows. And I know that this, you know, there's nothing like mourning and grief. There's nothing like it. And I'll just say that it's an opportunity for everyone to be very compassionate with themselves and with each other. Because grief looks different for everybody, and it also looks different moment to moment. Myra might want to talk to you now, she might not want to talk to you in 5 minutes, but in 6 minutes later, she might want to talk to you, she might want to have a meal, or she might not want. So we have to always be just compassionate with each other. And the only thing I just want to close with is if you're ever wondering, wow, I wish I could do something for Ken to show him how much I appreciated him or how much he gave to me, just call Myra, call Julia, call his brother, you know, do something for his intimate loved ones, because I imagine that's what, you know, that's what I imagine Ken would want everybody to just rally around you both. So with that, I want to, I'm going to offer you to join me in this responsive, kind of a prayer. It's written by 2 rabbis. It's called A Litany of Remembrance. We remember them. And the refrain I'm going to invite you to say is, we remember him. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the summer, we remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is a part of us forever. And I'm going to close with a song called I'll Fly Away. Some glad morning, when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away when the shadow of this life has gone. I'll fly away like a bird from prison bars have fallen. I'll fly away. I'll fly away. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I want to thank each and every one of you for the blessing that you brought and the comfort you brought to Ken's family and to each other. May Ken's memory always be for an inspiration and for a blessing. And we say amen.
Amen.
And I'll just say that you know Myra and Julia, I'm here for you, and please reach out if you need it to your support system, to each other, to me if you want. One death can bring up other deaths, so do what you need to do to be supported and to care for yourself as you deal with the passing of Ken. Again, may his memory always be for a blessing. And thank you for the honor